Checking connection. Checking connection. Hello. Oh, excuse me. Hello, Facebook / Instagram / YouTube / everywhere. Welcome to This Week in Coaching. Oh, I completely left my screen there.
So welcome to This Week in Coaching. It is May 31st. And we are excited to get started today and share some of the sticking points that our clients were having last week. So today we are talking getting in all of your calories, because I know some of us have the thing where we tend to eat more calories, but we also have the people on the other side of the spectrum that have a really hard time getting in all their calories. So we're going to talk about getting in all your calories. And we're going to talk a little bit about self-sabotage, because I feel like there's so many of us that tend to self-sabotage when we're on our way to our goals. And so how do we address self-sabotage? What does it look like? All of those kinds of things.
Sounds great.
So lots of stuff to get started with, but as you can see, Mike is sporting his wonderful brand new WNBF Canada shirt. It looks fabulous on him. Look at him, he's glowing.
She's just buttering me up. So we really wanted to touch on this calorie one because this is something where we see both sides of the spectrum. We have people that have a really hard time getting all of their calories in, and then we have the other side of the spectrum where a lot of people, when they first come to us, they're eating in such a calorie surplus that we really got to bring those calories back down first. But today we are here to talk about getting those calories in, because a lot of people, if they've been on a weight loss journey, they are eating chronically low as far as their calories go. So to get that weight loss started, we have to bring the calories up to begin with, which can be absolutely terrifying, because I know if you're on a weight loss journey and we say, hey, we need you to eat more food, the first thing that goes through your mind is, these guys are crazy. They don't know what they're talking about, because if I want to lose weight, I have to eat less food, which is true. But caveat to that is, if you're already eating, say, 1,000 calories, 800 to 1,000 calories for a long time, we need to refeed that metabolism to get it working so that you can see the weight loss results that you want. So we're going to start you in higher calories. Now, a lot of people that haven't eaten a lot of calories for a long time, when we say, hey, we need you at 1,500, 1,600, 1,700 calories, they're like, how? So that's what we're here to talk about today, is how we get those calories in. So I'm going to let Kayla give her first, and then I'm going to go, we'll do some play here. We'll go back and forth a little bit.
Okay, so my very, very first thing that I want to touch on with this is that if you are a person that is looking for long-term weight loss results, the long-term studies show that you want to get about 70% of your calories in before 2 p.m. That means that the biggest meal of your day should be lunch and breakfast. Like breakfast or lunch, vice versa, however you want to swing that. But those should be where we have your biggest meals of the day, and dinner should be your smaller meal of the day. Now, in traditional Western culture, we have a very minimal carbohydrate dense kind of breakfast, or skip breakfast altogether for a lot of people. And then we have like this light, airy-fairy lunch, and then we
airy-fairy.
Yeah, you like that? Well, I'm thinking like the amount of people that are like, we have salad for lunch, or I have yogurt and berries, and it's just very light. And then they backload all their calories, and they have like this giant dinner before they unwind for the night. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we could talk about with meal timing, but anyway.
So what was your first point?
My very first point that I wanted to make with this was, my recommendation is to front load your calories. Get those calories earlier in the day. And how do we do that? So I always say get a very good protein bolus at breakfast. And what I mean by that is, like, you want to get like 30 grams or more of protein at breakfast to front load that protein. Most people aren't getting enough protein, and when we give them recommendations for protein, they're like, I have a really hard time hitting this. And it's because they're constantly feeling like they're playing catch up. They get 10 to 15 grams of protein at breakfast, 10 to 15 grams of protein at lunch, and then they're like, and how do I get this in? Okay, I'm going to have 40 grams of protein at dinner, and they're still very low on the protein. So if you can aim for about 30 to 40 grams of protein at breakfast and then about 25 to 30 grams at lunch and 25 to 30 grams at dinner, it should really set you up for success in hitting your protein targets. So yes, my recommendation, front load your calories, add more protein at breakfast.
Awesome. Beautiful idea. So mine, I'm going to piggyback off of what she said because that is honestly where we always start. I agree 100%. Getting more protein in at every meal, not just breakfast, but again, we as a population, I'm generalizing here, tend to eat a little bit low on the side of protein to start with. So increasing those protein levels, 100%. But not just the protein. So if we are talking, if you are coming in 2, 3, 4, 500 calories short most days on where you are supposed to be. And again, figuring out where you're supposed to be is different for everyone. So just because I'm throwing numbers out there doesn't mean if you haven't had it calculated that these numbers are accurate for yourself. So please don't take this as gospel. This is just a vague generalization. So if we are, say, 300 to 500 calories short every single day, then instead of just increasing the protein at every meal, increasing our portion sizes at every single meal is going to help us along the way. So think if you normally have, for breakfast, you're having 3/4 of a cup of oatmeal. Maybe instead of 3/4 of a cup, we're going up to a cup. We're going up to a cup and a quarter. Something more though, right? So we're increasing portion sizes regardless of the macronutrients that we're getting from at every single meal. So if we are 500 calories short every day, and then we start consuming an extra 150 calories of our carbs even at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that adds an extra 450 calories right now. So now instead of being 500 calories short, we're only 50 calories short. And 50 calories can come from pretty much anything. You could add an extra tablespoon of whatever sauce you put on your dinner at dinner time, and guess what? There's that 50 calories you just made up. So my first tip is just increasing the sizes, the portion sizes of the food that we're already consuming. So keep eating the good foods you're eating. Keep eating those whole foods. Just eat a little bit more at every single meal to help bring those calories up.
I love that because I think that the idea that a lot of people come at it with is like, oh my gosh, I need to eat
Another meal,
more quantity, another snack, something along those lines. But just simply by increasing the portion size that you're having at a meal is a really easy way to add that extra little bit of calories in there, because then you're not making an extra meal or having to stop an extra time to eat.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, I don't know about you guys, but I know for me, if I'm going to miss it, like, some calories, it's usually because I'm feeling rushed and I'm not like remembering to eat lunch. Like, oh, I was so busy doing all this stuff that I actually forgot to eat, versus it being like I deliberately didn't eat it. So if you're forgetting to eat the food, then just by increasing those portion sizes will really help you.
Yeah, no, great. One other thing that I wanted to throw in there, like Kayla was just saying, because it just sparked my memory here, when you are feeling rushed, when you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to have time for the usual meal or the meal that I had planned for the day. What's your fallback plan look like? Because if our fallback plan is, well, I'm just going to reach for a cup of yogurt out of the fridge, those little yogurt cups are like 70 calories, right? So that's
100.
But all I mean is that is not going to replace the meal that you had planned. So having a fallback plan, whatever that looks like, to keep your calories consistent throughout your day. So just because we are feeling rushed, just because we forgot that all of a sudden we had to get our kids somewhere and it's like, oh man, all of a sudden things just got busy because now I'm busier. Still having a way to fall back and bring those calories up with a good food choice. And I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but having those ideas, like the other day, I think it was yesterday actually, I had a client coming in. We finished doing our recordings that we had to do in the morning, and then I was like, I don't have enough time to cook my lunch like I wanted to. So my fallback plan is, and always has been, my gigantic delicious shakes, because I can make a shake that has 1,200 calories in it right now. It takes me 3 minutes to make the thing, right? Take a cup and a half of strawberries, jam them in my blender cup. There goes a banana in there too. Then peanut butter, then yogurt, then milk, then chocolate chips, then protein powder. 1,200 calories in a shake. So
not all of us can fit 1,200 calories into our...
No, 100%. But all I'm saying is this is my fallback plan, because if I miss a meal that I would normally be having that is going to be that 1,200 calories, because that's what my meals normally are, 12 to 1,600 calories because I eat a lot of calories. I need
Must
something.
be nice.
Keep it down over there. I need something that I can fall back on right now, especially when I'm in a hurry. So for me, it is one of those shakes. It is a very quick, throw it all in a blender, blend that up, and guess what? I may have missed my meal, but I'm still gonna hit my calories at that point.
I
So
love that.
having those fallback plans is huge.
Now, for me, often my fallback plan is we always have some sort of canned protein
Or leftovers.
or leftovers. But if for whatever reason we don't have leftovers, because that does happen from time to time, we have
If I've eaten them all.
we have some sort of canned protein in the cupboard, whether that be tuna or salmon or beans and lentils or chicken or whatever. There's canned protein in there somewhere. So my fallback plan is always grabbing for that. And I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love lettuce sprouts. So I will usually mix up my canned protein with like some low-fat mayo, some sriracha, some pickles, and throw that on some romaine lettuce and make like a little lettuce boat.
Or she puts it on rice cakes.
Or rice cake, yeah. I mean, but I do love lettuce boats. Like I like the crunchiness.
I know you do.
So,
but either way, just healthier options that can still get you to your calories if you're in those rushes, if you miss a meal, if you are feeling like you're having a hard time hitting those calories.
the other thing with getting in all your calories too to think about is that you can be high one day on calories and come a little bit lower the next day. So for whatever reason, let's just say today I'm 200 calories short. That means that tomorrow I could be 200 calories up. And that might be a really nice thing to do because maybe tomorrow is my kid's birthday and maybe I'm deciding, hey, I'm going to have that cupcake, so that'll make some space for that. So your body doesn't gain and lose weight on a single day. It's on a continuum.
Yeah.
So over time, so just allow yourself to have that little bit of ebb and flow, and that will help you enjoy life a little bit more. I mean, I had a client today that said to me, "Oh, I had hot dogs and pizza on Saturday, and my macros weren't in check, but my calories were in check." And I said, "You know what? You enjoyed the food. Who cares?"
Yeah.
Like
you gotta be able to enjoy your life.
You gotta live your life. Okay, jumping into self-sabotaging. So, mechanisms for self-sabotage, 9 times out of 10, is some sort of fear or fear-based mechanism. It really is.
Worthiness.
There,
If you don't feel worthy of your goals, when you get close to those goals, lots of people self-sabotage because they don't feel worthy of achieving their goals. Or maybe they've tried for these goals and haven't achieved them yet, so they don't know what that feels like. So it's easier to give up than it is to try and have the opportunity to fail.
yeah, well, and it's scary. I mean, I'm going to just talk from my own standpoint. I know in the last couple of weeks, there was definitely some self-sabotage that came in getting ready for competition because for myself, it was, well, I didn't succeed last time. And I was so scared to feel that fear, that feeling of I tried and I failed, that it's easier to just self-sabotage a little bit. And I mean, I didn't go crazy, but there was some moments of self-sabotage. And that moment of self-sabotage did not prevent me from feeling that fear. Like we have to be very honest with this. Like we think that we are self-sabotaging to keep ourselves safe and stuck, to prevent ourselves from feeling those negative, icky feelings of fear or anxiety, worry, whatever. But it doesn't prevent it. And so I still came out of competition. I still had to deal with that fear and those feelings that I wanted to try and refrain from feeling. So it's just something to think about, is that the self-sabotaging behaviors are only actually going to give you a limiting piece in the interim, but they're not going to prevent these other feelings from coming in long term.
Awesome. So I think we should start out. I know we've kind of jumped into self-sabotage already, but just giving an idea. Some people are probably listening to this and they're like, well, what the hell is self-sabotage? Why would you sabotage yourself? So self-sabotage.
It's not like on Mario Kart where you throw the banana and you try and
throw it in front and then you hit it and spin out yourself. Yeah.
It's not like Mario Kart.
So self-sabotage is when you have goals, whatever those goals are for. It doesn't have to be health and fitness. It can be your business. It can be financial goals. Whatever goals you have that you're striving towards, and you are making amazing progress, and you're getting so close to that goal, and then these fear-based mechanisms start coming into place, and you start worrying about if you're going to hit it, and, well, what does my life look like if I do hit this level of success? What's going to change for me? Right? These fear of unknown just starts creeping up. And And it sounds crazy because anybody who's listening is like, hold on, if I am that close to my goal, there's no way I would do that. But the reality is, again, our minds are these survival mechanisms, right? So our minds know what it's like to not have achieved that goal already, and that's a safe place. So to say that once we hit these goals, our mind's going to be okay with that, that's where there's a little bit of a disconnect. So this is where that self-sabotage comes in, where we start to maybe just, I'm going to use fitness because that's generally what we're talking about here. Maybe we start to eat a little bit off of what we said we were going to. Maybe we start skipping workouts because we've worked so hard up until this point. I deserve these rest days. That's okay as long as we are being very honest with ourselves about our goals and about our movement, right? So self-sabotage creeps in when we start to get in our own way to step away from our goals.
Totally. So let's talk about how do we identify self-sabotage, because I think a lot of the time we don't actually recognize that we are sabotaging until we say, oh yeah, this is a self-sabotaging behavior. And then people are like, oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. So one behavior of self-sabotage is impulsiveness, or a decision, you make a different decision that takes away from your original plan. So
switching your plans now. You've had this plan, you've had these goals, but all of a sudden you're getting close to it and then you're like, ooh, I'm going to switch that.
Well, and this could be something simple like, I'm going to a barbecue. I have a plan to stay on track. I'm going to bring, food to share with everybody that's going to be good for my goals. And I'm going to, drink my sparkling water or whatever it is. And then you get there and you see all the smorgasbord of delicious food and you're like, screw my goals.
You know what sounds better? Hot dogs.
Yeah, give me these chips, give me whatever that wasn't going to fit my plan. And that's that impulsiveness. And now it's highly palatable food. So of course, your brain's going to crave more. Your gut bacteria is going to crave more because you can't fight biology. I mean,
Kayla tried, didn't work.
I would love to say that you can hack the biology, but you cannot on a cellular level. So all of a sudden, now I'm off plan.
Yeah.
What's another one, Mike?
Oh, boy, well, you got them written down.
Yeah, I know. Indecision. So another self-sabotaging habit would be indecision, or that, you know what, I don't want my goal anymore. It's not that important.
What I find with self-sabotage and where I start to see it with people is when they're a little bit off course and you call them on it, right? Like that's our job as coaches. We call people on their shit. No nice way to say that. If you are falling off track, I will call you on it. That's what you are paying me for. That is what we are here for. If you immediately get defensive and if you immediately have excuses as to why you did it, chances are you're self-sabotaging. Because if I call you on something, you're like, oh, I didn't notice that. Or, yeah, you know what? When you say it like that, I do notice that I was off course, right? That means it's an innocent mistake. That means like, holy, yeah, no, I messed up there. That's on me. Maybe I didn't count the calories right. Maybe I missed my workout because I thought it was on a different day. Whatever it looks like. But if it comes from a place of, oh man, yeah, thank you for letting me know that, that's one thing. But when we call a client out and we're like, hey, this happened, and they're like, well, oh, hold on, that only happened because of XYZ, and because of that, I don't think you should be calling me out on that. The second we see that defensiveness, the second we see these excuses popping up, chances are that was a little bit predetermined. You were thinking about it already. You've already got the excuses. You've already got the thought process going. Now, the second part of this is if you are called out by this beautiful individual beside me or this person here, if you're working with us and we call you out on something like that, it's not that we're being mean. We're not trying to pick at you. We are holding you accountable to what you said you wanted and what you said you were going to do. So don't ever take it out on the coach, please. Because at the end of the day, we want what's best for you, and you've told us what your goals are so that we can help you work towards them, right? So being very honest with yourself in the process. And what I always like to say to people is, if you are quote unquote caught self-sabotaging, whether you catch it or your coach catches it, whether you're coaching with us or you got somebody else, doesn't matter. But if you are quote unquote caught, realizing that, yes, I maybe was doing that, and then moving forward from it. Because the biggest problem I see with self-sabotage is when it happens day after day after day. And then all of a sudden a week's gone and you're a week behind where you would have been. Right? Instead of letting it just ride for the week, instead of letting it just go for frickin' ever, being able to pick yourself back up, say, yeah, you know what? I had an off moment, but it was just a moment. And now I'm back in the game, 2 feet in, and we're ready to go. Right? So being able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back at your goals is super important.
Yes, spillover is really normal, especially with self-sabotage. So I call it spillover because it's like
one day to the next,
one day
next,
and then the next, and it
Just
kind of
cascades.
trickles. Usually 2 to 3 days is the average that it kind of lasts. Anyways, more self-sabotaging ideas of what it might look like. So it might look like perfectionism to you. So that black and white thinking, I'm either all in or I'm all out.
This guy.
So perfectionism, if I can't do it right, then I might as well not do it at all. That is a really big self-sabotage. It's like if you just lived in the gray a little, you would be way more successful. So people think I need to be on track with all my workouts, all my food, whatever, in order to achieve my goals. And that's actually not the case. Whereas if you just did 80% all the time, you would be a much more successful person than doing 100% for 5 days and then 30% for 2 days or whatever.
It is human to have error. Every single person that is listening to this, every single person that you know has error in their life. We screw up. We are human. We make mistakes. That is literally everybody. So again, being able to forgive yourself, being able to walk away from that and be like, you know what? Yeah, I was a little bit off. I'm being honest with myself. I'm going to get back on this. That perfectionism thing was me to a T throughout my entirety of my firefighting career. If it was not perfect, I was angry, and then I would make sure it was perfect myself. So that meant that I was spending extra time when I didn't need to, worrying about things and fixing things that didn't even need to be fixed. But maybe somebody put something back in a bag just wrong, or did the zippers up wrong, or had the truck set wrong. However it worked, I was that perfectionist. The amount of stress and time I wasted just trying to make everything absolutely perfect was ridiculous. My beautiful wife beside me always used to say, you need to lower your standards, you'd live a lot happier life. Well, guess what I did? I lowered my standards. And guess what? I live a lot happier now.
Not only did he lower his standards, but I think that his wife might have like tweaked things, like, you know, you just move things just slightly off center, or
I'm also OCD, so yeah, with like table settings, she
Oh,
would destroy
man.
me with those.
I think it's just conditioning over time, right? We've just conditioned you to
Regardless,
have lower standards.
self-sabotage is a real problem for a lot of people. And again, the biggest thing with self-sabotage is honestly being able to recognize it,
Yeah.
right? Acknowledging it before it gets out of hand. So what I mean by before it gets out of hand is like Kayla was saying, those spillover days where it's like day 1 into day 2 into day 3 into day 4, where you get that cascade effect. Being able to acknowledge it ahead of time, recognize it, and be like, ooh, I've seen this pattern before. This didn't serve me before. It sure as hell isn't going to serve me now. So let's just kick that to the side and go back to where we were.
There's lots of different ways that you can recognize self-sabotage. I have 3 more that I want to share with you guys, and then I want to talk about ways to overcome it. So procrastination is another form of self-sabotage. I'm a big procrastinator. I like to leave things to the last minute.
What?
And then I feel like really overwhelmed, like I have no time to do things. But I also work really well under pressure. So, I mean...
Self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage. Some people, though, we have some clients that are procrastinators, and they for some unknown reason, feel that they need to do 2 workouts in one day to make up for the time.
Gotta double
that they didn't
down,
do it.
baby.
And I'm like, 2 workouts in one day, you're not going to see the results. Like when we build a workout program, like we build it based on having adequate rest and adaptation time. And so doing it all in one day is not actually doing yourself a service.
There are times where you can do 2-a-days, but you have to have the workouts built specifically for that. And unless these workouts were planned to be 2-a-days,
Well, and
too much demand.
unless you're splitting them up, right? Like
That's what I
morning
mean.
and evening. But these people that
But even then, if you did two quad days on the same day, it's a bad day.
well, but these people that I'm kind of talking about tend to do them all at once. Like there are people that are like, I want 5 days of 30-minute workouts, and then they do 2 30-minute workouts back to back, and it's like, but that's not the way this is built.
That's just an hour-long workout.
Anyways, another way to identify self-sabotage is destructive habits. overeating, overspending, excessive worrying. Like, how many people thought excessive worrying was a self-sabotaging habit? And I don't think that anybody would have been like, oh yeah, that's my self-sabotage. But think about it like this: if you are excessively worrying about everything that is taking place in your day, with your food choices, with your workouts, with your thoughts, whatever, you might actually, like, it's the inaction, right? That worrying.
Paralyzed by fear.
Yeah, that worrying can cause that paralyzation, and then we just don't want to take any action. So realizing that we do tend to get in our own ways with these destructive habits. Overeating. I mean, we're not talking about, well, I mean, binge eating could go here too. But binge eating is another horse, because really binge eating is predetermined.
Premeditated. It's like murder.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but
I murdered that meal.
binge eating has like predetermined behaviors. Like, it's, you really get your high from the planning phase of the binge, whereas like overeating or overconsumption is like, you know, Cookie Monstering it, going back for seconds or thirds or whatever. So there is some difference there. And then the other one that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and Mike already kind of alluded to this, was defensiveness being a self-sabotaging habit. So when you are making excuses, or you're feeling the need to defend yourself for a behavior that you've done,
behavior that you chose to take,
usually does signify that it was some sort of self-sabotage that you were engaging in. So something to think about there is, like, you know, if I'm needing to make an excuse for it, was I sabotaging myself? Was I sabotaging my goals? And we're not saying that sabotage is good, bad, and different. What we're saying is that you want to begin to recognize when you are getting in your own way. Because at the end of the day, you are the only one that's going to get you to your goals. We can light the fire, but you're the one that physically has to move. And I had somebody say that in a class that I was in, and I was like,
we'll light the fire, but you got to move your ass.
Yeah, you're the one that has to move. So, which means that you're the one that has to take the action. You're the one that has to get out of your own way. And we are here to help you get out of your own way, but I can't hold your hand every moment of every day and like slap the cookie out of your hand. Like,
I can, but you're going to have to pay me a lot more.
Just Mike following you around, slapping
cookie
cookies.
slaps.
That might be a good job.
No.
Craigslist that one? Cookie slapper?
Craigslist? Is that still a thing?
I don't know.
How friggin' old are you?
This is how old I am. Okay, Craigslist was a thing.
Use Victoria, that one.
Is it Kijiji now?
Anyways.
Facebook Marketplace?
Okay, so when self-sabotage starts to creep in, having a support network is huge. Having people that know the journey you're on and can hold you accountable outside of yourself, right? We can only hold ourselves so accountable.
Well, and here's the thing. It might not even be somebody to hold you accountable. It might just be a sounding board. Hey, I recognized I was sabotaging myself today. And I needed to come clean about it because it makes me feel honest. Like, maybe it's a journal, maybe it's a person that you're using as a sounding board. Maybe it's simply stopping yourself in your tracks and asking yourself the question, does this support my goals? Does this serve my higher good? Like, when we can, most of these things are automatic behaviors a lot of the time. It's like we just kind of get in our own way. So if you can stop yourself, pause, and be able to make a different choice or a different decision, or give yourself that opportunity to recognize the choice that you're making, that's really where the transformation takes place. So we talk about, in some of our coaching programs, we talk about the ability to stop and visualize the process before you're going to do it. So this might help with that impulsiveness. So if you're going to a barbecue, like we already used the scenario, before you go to the barbecue, I want you to visualize what does it look like when you go to the barbecue. What is the behavior that you want to elicit, and what is the outcome of that? When I get to the barbecue, I'm going to eat my barbecued chicken salad, and it's going to taste delicious. When offered a hot dog, I'm going to decline. Okay, that might be something that you decide is your plan of action. If that is your plan of action, I want you to visualize it. I want you to verbalize it. So you're physically saying it out loud as you're going through this visualization process. Your brain likes repetition. So now when you get to the barbecue and
Brain's already gone through
your brain is going through it. It's like, we're going to eat a chicken salad. And then your friend says, hey, would you like a hot dog? And your brain says, you said you were going to decline. And now you have that opportunity to make that decision. That doesn't mean that if you decide to have a hot dog, it's bad, it's wrong, or anything. But it means that now you're actually paused in that spot.
You're giving yourself that fighting chance.
And you can go, hey, yeah, I do want the hot dog, or no, I'll just eat my 3-year-old's leftovers. No, it gives you that opportunity to make the decision, but you have to visualize it, and you have to go through the verbal, because that gets the both left and right side of the brain going through it. The other thing that you can also look at doing with this is being able to create a fallback plan, like Meg's already talked about, right? If things don't go according to plan, what am I going to do instead?
Yeah, how do we react? How do we respond? And then the last portion of this is again just bringing that kind of mindful awareness in, right? Like, so many of us aren't even aware of the thought processes that go on in our heads because they become so automatic because we've done them so many times over and over again throughout our lives. So becoming aware of the thought processes that we're having, and a lot of this comes back to just starting a mindfulness practice ahead of time. So again, this is something you can do outside of the moment, but this is like really starting to become aware of all of our thought processes. What am I thinking about next? Like, I love the one thing that, and I forget which lesson we have it in, but it's like, what is the next thought I'm going to think? It's a weird question to ask yourself, but when you start asking yourself that, we really start to become present in our days, present in our moments. And it starts to bring to light any of the thoughts that are coming up moment to moment within our minds. So then when we're asking ourselves, what's that next thought I'm going to have? If you're noticing, it's like hey, I know we said we weren't going to eat this, but we're going to totally eat this. It's like, are we now? Because now I've actually shed some light on this. I'm becoming aware of these thoughts before they become actions. So then you have the choice of creating that as an action or simply taking inaction when it's something that you don't want to take action towards.
Well, and asking yourself too, what is the fear I have around this? Because like we already said at the very beginning of this, self-sabotage is usually some sort of fear-based mechanism. So what is the fear I have around this? And whether this be a journaling exercise, something that you just ask yourself in your head or you do out loud. I mean, journaling is great because sometimes you come up with answers that you never thought would actually come up in that process. But what is the fear I have around this? I'm actually afraid of hitting my goal. Well, why am I afraid of hitting my goal? Well, I'm afraid of hitting my goal because I've never actually hit it, and so I have this fear of the unknown. Well, why do I have this fear if I'm committed to this goal? It's like, well, if I don't achieve it, I'm going to feel like I failed. So what am I really afraid of at the end of the day? I'm afraid of failing. So why am I afraid to fail? Well, because I don't want to feel negative emotions, icky, sticky, like I don't want to feel like I did it all for nothing. Well, let's be honest, at the end of the day, what do you learn when you win? You don't learn much, right?
Learn that you did good. High five.
High five, and it lasts momentarily.
What do we learn when we fail?
That's where we learn, we grow, we develop.
The hardest lessons are learned when we lose.
But the thing is that whether you win or you lose, the fail feeling or the winning feeling, they are both momentarily
fleeting.
They're fleeting. They last for this small amount of time and then they go away. So, and then nobody remembers in a week whether you won or lost. The only person that remembers is you. But you, if you lose, have that opportunity to grow from it and develop from it. Whereas when you win, you don't really grow and develop any further. So it's just something to think about, is that getting clear on what the fear is that's holding you back and why that fear is holding you back, and understanding that it's not actually as terrifying as you think it is, right? We often make mountains out of molehills in our head. And so when we put pen to paper and we realize, okay, this fear is not what I actually want.
But
then,
did it kill you?
Yeah. I mean, we're all afraid to try something new, to step outside of that comfort zone. Of course, there's that is normal human behavior, to feel afraid to achieve something that you've never done or to do something that you've never done. But some of the best moments in life live on the other side of fear. If you haven't had the opportunity to go and listen to Will Smith talk about jumping out of an airplane to go skydiving,
perfectly good plan.
Go on YouTube, look up Will Smith on the Ellen DeGeneres show talking about fear. It is hilarious and totally worthwhile. But he specifically says on the other side of fear is your greatness, is your power, is everything that you've ever wanted in life. And so really confronting that fear, I think is imperative.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So this week in coaching has been focused around self-sabotage and getting in our calories. So hopefully you guys all got something out of this little talk today. I know we love doing these, so if you guys have any more questions that are kind of in the back of your mind right now and you're like, hey, what would be the answer to this question? Ask it in the comments. This is what we ask for from you guys every week. If you have questions, doesn't matter if it's health and fitness, we'll talk about anything. Kayla can talk about anything.
Send it on over to us. You can also email it off to us at info@ironbodycoach.com.
And outside of that, I hope everybody listening has an absolutely amazing day, absolutely amazing rest of the week, and we will see you guys back here next week for Next Week in Coaching.
Bye for now, guys.
Bye, guys.